management part of Dataverse for Teams. So basically, it's about Power Apps, Power Automate flows within the context of your Microsoft Teams team. And then I'm going to focus extensively on application lifecycle management possibilities. So those who were joining this session based on the description should know. And otherwise, I will have some context from the start to make sure that everyone can get on the same level. I made a little agenda because I don't have a lot of sheets, but I wanted to share these topics from the start to make sure that the expectations are right. I want to give you a short introduction on myself, of course, some background information on the Power Platform and how it relates to Microsoft Teams. And then I'm going to demo a lot. I will not make the full hour because I have a hard stop at a certain moment because of my kids going to bed. But I'm going to demo a lot. For questions during my presentation, because I'm in presenting mode and demo mode, I'm probably not very sharp on any questions through chat. But please add your question to the chat, but also give some context. So at the end of the meeting, when we can answer all the questions in one go. So please do. So a short introduction. My name is Django. I live in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. I work with InSpark, which is like a Microsoft partner on several competencies within the Microsoft platform, from Azure to collaboration in Teams to SharePoint to Power Platform, of course, where my expertise comes in. I work within the business apps team, and that's the business apps in the widest context of the word. Not specifically Power Apps or any other type of apps. It's just an app within the context from the business. So the added value being there. And recently, in May this year, I was awarded the Microsoft Valuable Professional Award from Microsoft, which just means that I like to do these sessions a lot. And in the last few years, I've been doing these type of sessions, focusing on Power Platform. And I've also been blogging a lot. So I will share my details also in the chat, like all the other presenters have done thus far. But here's my blog site, my Twitter handle, and especially for those with questions after my presentation, please focus on the Power Platform community within this link, the powerusers.microsoft.com. Ask your question there, and a lot of experts will love to help you there, including me. You can also mention me, and I will definitely have a look at your question, because maybe other experts that I know that I will also involve in answering your question. So that's the power of the community. Please be aware of that. The first topic that I wanted to share is some basics, because maybe the Power Platform is not really familiar to you, the concepts of the Power Platform. So I just wanted to go through the basics. And from that moment on, I will relate it to Microsoft Teams, in an example, Dataverse for Teams. So basically, within the Power Platform, you have these 4 awesome tools. You have Power BI for business analytics, BI, where you can create these perfect dashboards with interactive elements on a very user-friendly way. Then for Power Apps, you can create your mobile apps, your laptop apps, like forms, where you can easily interact with all the data that you have. Then you have Power Automate, like a workflow tool, where you could create some automation, a lot of automation. And of course, the latest addition to the Power Platform, the Power Virtual Agents, where you have like chatbots that you can create. And all these 4 tools have in common that you actually do not need to code, like complex coding like JavaScript or HTML or CSS or all those kind of coding skills that I don't also have, but you can create this use these awesome tools and create very cool business apps with this low code, no code platform. Below these 4 tools, you see 3 important aspects. One is the actual strength of the Power Platform are its connectors, because the 4 tools on top are actually do not contain data themselves. The power in those tools is that you connect any of those tools that the data that you already have, whether it's an Excel file, a SharePoint list, a SQL database, a Twitter feed. It doesn't matter where the data is stored. You can create your cool dashboards, your apps, your flows, and your chatbots connected to any type of data as long as there's a connector for it. And you can even create your own custom connectors. Then if you saw the previous session by Marco, the AI builder is also a big part coming up in the Power Platform. There are some pre-trained artificial intelligence models like the form processing, and also a very good true-false prediction model that you can train. And based on data that you have, you can use the AI builder model to do a prediction or process forms on, and there are some really cool models out there. I recommend you to just search on them, and you will see a lot of examples and a lot of YouTube videos giving you some good idea of about the AI builders. And last but not least, Dataverse. Dataverse for Teams is already mentioned, but Dataverse, and I don't want to be too shortcoming about it, but Dataverse is like a database out of the box, where you would create your own database in Excel files or SharePoint lists or SQL, and you have to build them from the ground up. Dataverse, previously known as the Common Data Service within all those Dynamics solutions, Dataverse is that database out of the box with a lot of functionalities already in it. So yeah, based on this info, I hope to give some information about the Power Platform, the tools in it, and the strengths that it has. So we can go to the next step. I've made some links in my presentation for if I would share it later, is of course with relation to Dataverse for Teams. And the concept that we need to understand with regards to Power Platform is that a Dataverse for Teams environment leans on the concept of the Power Platform environments and application lifecycle management options that you have within the Power Platform, that you can have also within Dataverse for Teams. And you need to consider a Dataverse environment like a database that you can focus on specific users or on specific regions or on specific purposes like OTAP or DTAP, where you have a development environment, a testing environment, and a production environment, or you separate your databases on a regional. Let's say that people in Asia should never see the data in America. Then you would say create two separate Power Platform environments so the databases will always be separated throughout your environment strategy. So based on that, I also give some information about the documentation of Microsoft itself, so we can understand the concept of Power Platform environments. That's very important. And then when it comes to application lifecycle management, you need to understand that to move your business app, whether it's a Power App or a Flow or a chatbot, you can package your components of your app within a solution, and you move that solution through your environments. So the example that I gave earlier was the DTAP strategy. If I have a development environment and a testing environment and a production environment, I make my functional changes in my database or in my Power App or in my Power Automate Flow within a development environment, wrap it up into one solution, a package, and move that package, just like in this screenshot, I move it package through another environment. And there are two types of solutions that you can use. You have the unmanaged solutions and you have the managed solutions. I will not go into deep all too much, but the difference mainly is that an unmanaged solution can be shared in a way that people can edit it, and a managed solution is a package that people can share, but they cannot edit it anymore after it has been changed to a managed solution. So something to keep in mind, but for now, let's focus on the unmanaged solutions because that is the relationship with Dataverse for Teams. In Teams, you probably may have seen the apps part already present in Microsoft Teams. Stuart already this afternoon had some very nice insights on the possibilities, and I'm going to show you the possibilities from an end user point of view. So I have this user. He is Sven. He is a sales representative within the Contoso company, of course, and he has found out that he has this nice little apps possibility. Let me go full screen within his Microsoft Teams team. And within this, all these apps that you can have, you see the Power Apps possibility. And if I open this, you will see that I am able to, let's go to the home screen first. You can see that I have all these options on incorporating Power Apps within my Microsoft Teams experience, because Microsoft Teams is becoming more and more the collaboration hub. So why not also for the Power Platform to make the end user's life more easier? From an end user perspective, if it's the first time that I am looking at this environment, I can start with my Power App experience within Microsoft Teams by looking at these example sample apps that Microsoft provides for you to discover. So you can start from an example, or you can start from your Microsoft Teams team with a blanco, clean start from the beginning. To create an app, I will select the team where this app will live. This means that if I select Microsoft Teams team that already has apps, I can create and start creating immediately. If I have a new Microsoft Teams team that doesn't have any Power Platform integration already, you will see this nice notification where it says, hey, you're the first person to create an app in this team. We're going to need to do some setting up, so loading time will be a little longer than usual. So let me just create it already. And now we go back to my presentation, because this is where the magic happens, where my previous explanations come together. What is happening now is that Microsoft is creating a Power Platform environment where all the Power Platform goodness will live, but it's related to the Microsoft Teams team, and it will always be accessible from within the context of the Microsoft Teams team, and it will be linked to that specific Microsoft Teams team. So that's why I had that long introduction with my sheets to understand this concept about what is happening now with Sven. You can see that Microsoft is almost ready. Is that it is creating a Power Platform environment related to my Microsoft Teams team. Let's call this one an empty app, because I'm not gonna, this is not gonna be my demo app, but I'm just gonna save it to show you how easy it is to create a Power Apps app within a Microsoft Teams team. Saving, now it is saving the app within the Power Platform environment related to the Microsoft Teams team. And when I go to the Build tab within the Power Apps section of Microsoft Teams, remember, I'm still in Microsoft Teams, and I go to the team that I just selected, the call center one, is it just created this Power Platform environment. And then you can see the empty app that I just created. There are no installed apps, so this Power Platform environment is pretty empty at the moment. From a governance point of view, I can hear some of the IT admins already thinking, oh my God, does this mean that people can create Power Platform environments the way that they can create Microsoft Teams team, and how will we keep control of it? There are several ways to control the creation of these Power apps related to Microsoft Teams teams, but looking at the strategy of Microsoft Teams, looking at the strategy of Microsoft to empower everyone to achieve more, also the legacy IT admins should change their mindset and say, hey, there are all these awesome tools that you can use. Let's guide them instead of prevent them from being used, to stimulate creativity and to have those end users also creating the most value within their own businesses. So let me give you a tip on that, that as an IT admin, don't prevent everything from being used, but determine and make agreements on how tools will be used, and then see if you can technically enforce those agreements for governance possibilities, of course. Okay, let me go back to my presentation. So what I just showed you is how easy it was to create a Power Platform environment linked to my Microsoft Teams team. And as an example, I want to show you what it looks like from an IT point of view, what just happened. And for that example, I'm going to move over to Karen. Karen in this company is a Power Platform administrator. And she can see when she goes to admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com, she can see all the environments of the Power Platform type within this tenant. So let's wait a minute until all the environments are loaded. And here you will see that the environment that was just created by Sven is now successfully provisioned and can now be used by Sven. As you can see here, you can see that it is of the type Microsoft Teams. And there are, of course, other Power Platform environments that can be created outside Microsoft Teams. But as you can see, this company is loving the Power Platform integration within Microsoft Teams and is using the Dataverse for Teams possibilities a lot. So this is Karen. And Karen, as a Power Platform administrator, has researched the possibilities and she has created this cool Power App within a project that she has finished last month. And I'm going to show you the concept of that Power App is the Team Kickstart. And the concept of this Team Power App is that they have a weekly meeting. And to guide that weekly meeting as efficient and as effective as possible, she has created some screens to guide the team meeting throughout her Kickstart weekly meeting. Let me open up the Power App, which I've already added as a tab to a specific channel. And as you can see, that this is a Canvas Power App within the context of Microsoft Teams. It knows in which team I am, so it is smart enough. And as you can see that it will guide the team through their weekly meeting. And as you can see that she has built some timers in it to make sure that they do not go over time. They have this mood board where people will share their mood so they can discuss it, especially in this COVID period where we have all these online meetings. It's very good to know that if Sven is a little bit unhappy today, that we can also take that into account when we want to interact with Sven. They have built a screen where people can add help requests. So I need some help with Dataverse for Teams. And I have added my request today, and I can give the status that it is pending because I want to discuss this today during the meeting. And they have an improvement board where people can add IDs. Let me select one that shows this is they want to use Teams meetings to schedule the next Teams meeting so they can make the recording easier available. And so they move throughout the whole meeting with this is a performance indicator to make sure that everything is guided in a structured way. And at the end of the meeting, they can evaluate how the meeting went based on the time that they spent and to see if they need to improve their meeting for the next time. It's something like a Scrum stand-up, if you're familiar with that terminology. So based on this app, she has shared it with the rest of her team. And some team members were pretty amazed by this app. So they wanted to have that same app within their own Microsoft Teams team. And I'm an Office 365 guy myself. Years ago, I started with SharePoint. And every time when I created this cool form or SharePoint site or this nice libraries or lists, recreating them to a second SharePoint site for another department and for another group of people or for another team was pretty hard unless you had this hard coding PowerShell skills. Within this concept, within Dataverse for Teams, and I'm going to show you with another example, the application lifecycle management possibilities support us better. And I'm going to show you. Go back to my presentation. So this was Karen. She created the app. And within my example, I'm going to show you that Anne, who has finished the project with Karen last month, she requested Karen if Karen would be able to share that app with her so she could deploy that app within her own Microsoft Teams team. And I'm going to show you now based on Anne. So this is Anne. She has had a meeting with Karen, and Karen has showed her the Team Kickstart app and how simple it is to create it. And Anne is gonna use her app in her own Microsoft Teams team. What she can do, she can go to the same Power Apps app within Microsoft Teams. And within that user interface, she can click the build tab. She can click the Microsoft Teams theme where Karen has created that awesome Power App. And she can look at all the components present within her Power Platform environment. So as you can see, this Power Platform environment has several tables, connection references. You can forget all about those. What I wanted to show is this app. I can filter it also here within this nice filtering options on the left side. But I'm going to show you all to make you aware that if you're going to create Power Platform solutions with several components related, naming conventions are worth your while. Make sure that when you're going to create an app, for example, here you can see that all the related components start with Team Kickstart to make sure that they get grouped together and that they are easily identifiable within an environment that can have multiple apps. So as N, I can select the Power App. I can select the tables behind those Power Apps. As you can see here, I've selected them all. I can export it. It is verifying if there are other dependencies with other tables or other components within the solutions. There are not, as you can see, dependency 0. If there are, I can deselect them if I want to, but it is wise to have all the dependencies present, because now I can create this package that is combining the Power App with the tables as one nice package that I will be able to import in another Microsoft Teams theme. So now it's exporting. And this may take a moment because this is a backend processing job that's using asynchronous. And here you can see it's downloaded, and it's downloaded the zip file here. And it's named the zip file the name of my Microsoft Teams theme. Let me go to my download folder where you can see it. Here I just can rename it also. So let's say I want to rename it to another name. I can just change the name to any name that I want. Export from Karen, for example, Karen's app. Just for my recognition, this is the name that I'm going to give it. And with this package, you can go to another Microsoft Teams theme. Let's say this one. And within this interface, she can go to the overview of her specific Power Platform environment within her Microsoft Teams theme. This is a different Microsoft Teams theme. And now I can import that package that I just downloaded. So the export from Karen zip file. Next. It gives you an overview of every component that will be imported within my Dataverse for Teams environment. And say import. Again, this is the asynchronous job. Sometimes it finished within 5 minutes. Other times it's finished within 1 hour. So I prepared for the fact that, like any demo, this can take a lot of time. So I'm gonna go back again to Sven to see if he has imported it already in another Power Platform environment. The same steps that Anne just did, Sven already did with another package in this Microsoft Teams theme. And then you can see that it has imported all components from the other solution nicely within this environment, which means that he can also add the Kickstart app to another Microsoft Teams theme. And then I'm going to show you next to each other and Karen's app. Make sure to show you that I'm not tricking you. This is the same Kickstart app within the Biz App Conferences team, and this is the Power App within the testing team that Sven created. And as you can see, that the tables are different, but the content, the UI, the user experience, and the user interface is exactly the same. So this was a copy paste from Karen's environment to the Sven, the testing environment, just within a few clicks. And how awesome is that? That now you can export, you can export your Power App, the tables that you have linked to that Power App as one nice package, import it in another Microsoft Teams team, and that's like the application lifecycle management heaven, right? Because you can share the package with anyone, they can deploy it to their own Microsoft Teams team. And of course, if Sven would like to have additional functionalities, he is now able to build on top of that package his own additions. So let's say that based on, for example, let's Karen at her improvement board. Let's say that Sven has been using the same app for quite some while now, and he wants to add a status to the improvement board form because he wants to separate the completed improvements from the new improvements or the rejected improvements. So he wants to have an extra field in his table. So this is the improvement table. And then you can see within the improvement table all the columns that are present within that table. And he wants to add a column. And we are going to name it consistently, of course, because we have some naming conventions. And it starts with Team Kickstart, always the column. So I'm going to use this to name it the Team Kickstart Improvement. And it's going to be a choice column because we're going to give some options. And I'm going to create a new choice column, which is basically a local choice column because we do not want to reuse it in other tables. This is some in-depth Power Platform examples. So if you have any questions, please add them to the chat with some context and I'm happy to answer. But I'm going to finish my demo to make sure that I stay within time. And this is called the Team Kickstart Choices. These are the options, the choices of the improvement status. And the option that I'm going to give is a new by default, to do when the improvement is accepted by the team. Rejected should also be an option if they do not accept the improvement for now. And let's say we're going to add a status called implemented. Those are the options. This is the status of the improvement. So it really pays off to follow these naming convention on bigger business apps. I hope you will not have to find out the same way that I did, but it really helps to give as much as information like descriptions, consistent naming. It really pays off. Just a tip from me. As you can see, now it's added, but unless I save the table, it's not available within my Power App. So I saved the table, I've added the column, and now, of course, I want to add it to this experience that Karen has made the setup of the Power App, but I'm going to make the Power App even cooler. So I can just select the Power App, and based on my permissions, I'm able to edit the Power App. I think it depends on permissions that you have. Probably this is not a team that Sven is an owner of. So let me see if Carlos, his colleague who created the environment, has made him owner. No, he does not. So let's switch to Carlos. So this is a good example. Permissions within Microsoft Teams are also enforced on the separate components. So I'm going to switch to Carlos to show you how to edit the Power App. Carlos goes to the Power Apps app within Microsoft Teams. He goes to the Build tab as soon as that has rendered. Build. The solution is within this test Microsoft Teams team. I go to see all the components. There I have this Kickstart app, and because I'm the team owner, I'm able to edit the Power App. I'm going to edit the Power App. It takes some time to load it. Just gonna open Karen again, make sure to show you what I'm going to change. So in the current form, you have this, you have these fields: improvement topic, owner, proposal, and the date, the due date of the improvement. And what Carlos and Sven have discussed is that they want to add an extra field. And I'm going to show you how easy it is. So the first step was for Sven to add a column. Second step will be to change the Power App. So if you're familiar with Power Apps, you can here see the screens that we have created. And within the improvement board, we have this nice screen. And within the screen, we have a form. And within that form, we can edit the fields that we have. And because we just created the status field within this Power Platform environment, within this Dataverse for Teams environment, I can select the column, add it. And as you can see, if I do the preview, if I add a new topic by Carlos, it will be a test. 17, and you can see the new options that we just created, new and save. That's as easy as it is. From a user interface point of view, and from my my OCD, my neurosis, I wanted to make sure that it has the same styling. So because I made this app responsive, I want to make sure that the width is correct. As you can see, that I want the width to be the same as the parent width instead of a fixed width. And you can see by default, it has this nice gray color, but within our company, we love the pink color. So I'm gonna choose, this is probably a background from this one. The chevron background, that's it. I want that also to be purple. And sorry to bother you with this one. I want to make the border also consistent with the rest of the app, just like Karen would have created it from the beginning, like this. And I probably wanted to make it required. Not true. Then I save the Power App. Let's see if I can publish it to Teams directly from here. Some nice button. Then you will see that if this Canvas app is used within this Microsoft Teams team, here you can see it's in the General tab, save and close, go back to the build, and let's have a look at Sven experience. So Sven needs to refresh the app a few times, because Microsoft Teams, Internet Explorer, Chrome, they all have to cache Power Apps. So you need to make sure that you're in the latest version of the Power App. Let's go to the improvement board. Let's add one. And then you can see that now in Sven, because Carlos has updated the form within this control, you can see that now these options are here also. So that's as easy. So what I just showed you is Karen has created this awesome app within her Microsoft Teams, within her Dataverse Teams environment. She can export the solution with the Canvas app in it, the tables in it, and one nice package. She can share it with anyone, even outside her company. And if that package is imported within a Microsoft Teams team, as I showed you recently, they can add it as a tab to their Microsoft Teams team, and they can start using that app within their own team within a few clicks. And for those diehards among you that should question if anyone now can take advantage of the improvement that Carlos has made, yes. In the same way, he can also select now the updated table with the updated app, export his own version of the app, and he can even share it back with Karen. That if Karen says, hey, that's an awesome addition, I want that also, within a few import clicks, Karen will be able to update that app within her own environment. I'm a little bit short on time, so you have to take my word that it works. Otherwise, I would have demoed you, of course. the same, but it's the same step that I already showed you. Go to your Power Apps app, go to the build tab of your environment, import the updated version of your solution, and within a few clicks, the Power App will be updated with the adjustments that Carlos made. So hopefully I have showed you how easy it is to not to create the app, because creating the app can take a lot of effort. But once you have created that awesome business app, whether it's a Power Canvas app with some tables like in this example, or a Power Automate flow related to maybe the SharePoint site behind the Microsoft Teams team, just select the components that you have created, take all that awesomeness into one nice solution, a Power Platform package, and share it with anyone, and anyone within a Microsoft Teams team will be able to import it within their own Microsoft Teams team. So I think that's the main thing that I wanted to share. A last question that I could expect and was hoping to answer immediately is, how about the limitations within Microsoft Teams? And how about the option to move this Microsoft Teams business app to a global or a bigger enterprise app? Then let me give you information that there is an option to upgrade your Dataverse for Teams environment to a full-blown Power Platform environment. And in that way, some limitations that are applied within your Microsoft Teams environment are lifted. Let me give you an example. Within your Microsoft Teams team, within your Dataverse for Teams database, there's a limited number of rows that you can have, which are millions, but there's also a limitation in the database storage that you are given for free within your Microsoft Teams team, which is 2 gigabytes. So if your app is really popular and a lot of users are using it and your Microsoft Teams team is getting pretty big, you can do this upgrade process to make sure that the 2 gigabyte limitation is lifted. I just need to make sure that you are aware that with that premium Power Platform environment, from that moment it will be a premium Power Platform environment, comes also some Power Platform license requirements. So that's a whole other session in itself. But just be aware, I've added some links also within my presentation. So if there will be a place where we'll be sharing the presentation, I will upload it immediately. Otherwise, you will be able to find it on my own website, where I will share this presentation anyway. So I'm nice within my own scope of time. Let me check the Microsoft Teams team if there have been added any questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them now. Otherwise, I'm going to thank you for your patience, for your attention. Then we're going to end this session. So you have some extra time now to the next session to get some refreshments.
Thank you once again. So Django, yes, it's great that you've obviously shown these features, because it's one of those things which is made Power Apps really accessible now to a lot of the end users, and I just like the way you've shown that, as well as covering some of the other challenges with enterprise when they want to roll it out to a full-blown Power Platform capability, right? Because there's lots of limitations with Dataverse for Teams compared to Power Apps. I don't know if you have time to kind of dwell on the differences. Maybe that's something for a different session altogether, I reckon,
Yeah, but I think the 2 gigabyte storage is the main one. The other one is that your Canvas app will only be able to be played within a Microsoft Teams team. So not as a standalone Canvas Power App, which often other Power App users are used to. Those are two of the main ones. And of course, when it comes to permissions, based on Microsoft Teams, you have 3 user groups. You have Microsoft Teams owners, you have Microsoft Teams members, and you have guests, like external guests. All those users will be able to access the data and use the app as they please, unless you do some additional access configuration on table level. And I can show you, I think, in a few minutes. Let's say, for example, this is Carlos, he's owner of the team. Here are some cool additions, which I think went general available just a few weeks, where you can say, okay, within my Microsoft Teams environment, within this table, these users can have this type of access, which is compared to the Power Platform, just a very small granularity of permissions. But still, this is something that I would recommend to research further. I saw another question of Peter, which is a very good question. I have to keep in mind that I know some things which are not general available, but looking at the current options, there is the connection reference to SharePoint. And the connection reference is better than an environment variable, because based on a connection reference that you can have to a SharePoint site, when you import the solution to another Microsoft Teams team, you will be able to make that connection reference to a SharePoint list or a SharePoint library, which means that you have the same export-import functionalities that I just showed you when relating your Canvas Power App or your Power Automate flow to a SharePoint list or library. So keep in mind, just search on connection references for SharePoint within Power Platform Solutions, and you will be able to find all the options. I think it's in preview at the moment, so there might be some bugs still in it. But yeah, I've done a session before where I have created this Power Automate approval flow on a SharePoint site based on the same concept that I showed you now. And I created a connection reference to a SharePoint list. And then when you import your package, your solution to another Microsoft Teams team, it asks you to which SharePoint list or to which SharePoint library you want to connect the Power Automate flow, or you want to connect the Canvas app based on that connection reference. So that's some awesome stuff in related to SharePoint specific use cases.
Okay, so any other questions?
No, I don't think so. I'm going to share my my links like all the other ones. Please feel free to connect. If you have any questions, I'm going to stimulate you to use the community forum, and then I will help you as much as possible that way. I'm just yeah, grateful for this event. Thank you, Raz, for organizing, and yeah, keep up the good work.
Thank you, Django. So we'll share your contact details in the chat so people can connect with you. So we'll do that. Awesome, fantastic. So once again, thank you, Django. You joined us all the way from the Netherlands. So thank you once again. Always great. So really appreciate that. And yeah, I'll let you enjoy your evening. Thank you once again, Django. So that was Django, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Django. Okay.